while we're waiting, I'll go ahead and jump into some introductions and housekeeping items. Hello, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jason Onesto, and I am the Assistant Director of New Student Programs here at the University of Richmond. We appreciate you joining us for the next episode in our New Spider Summer series. I'm going to hand things over to my intern momentarily, Marianne.
Hi, y'all. My name is Marianne Packer. I am an intern for the New Student Programs Office here at the University of Richmond. Super excited to be here with you all today.
Thank you, Marianne. Before we jump into content, just one small housekeeping item. Will notice at the bottom of your screen there is a Q&A box function that you're able to utilize. We will have some formal time to ask and answer questions at the end of our content delivery today. However, if you want to go ahead and submit your questions as you have them throughout, we'll make sure that we answer them there at the end. But just utilize that function at the bottom of your screen, and we'll be more than happy to get those questions answered for you. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand things off to our guest that we have today. So Julia, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Trachtenberg. I am a financial aid advisor here in the University of Richmond Office of Financial Aid. Welcome to all of our new spiders. We're very excited to have you here today. And today we're going to be talking about the financial aid process and a little bit about managing your finances when you're here on campus as well. So we'll go ahead and jump in with how to apply for financial aid. At this point, you've likely already completed these steps, but returning domestic students do have to reapply for financial aid each year. So in order to have a complete financial aid application, there are three parts. The first is the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. The second is the CSS profile, which is another financial aid application through the College Board. And then the third are the federal tax returns. And those are always going to be for the prior year. So the tax returns that you would have submitted for the upcoming school year were from 2024. And then for your sophomore year, there'll be the tax returns from 2025 and so on. A couple other things to note about these applications. If your parents are divorced or separated, the FAFSA is only going to ask for your custodial parents' information, but the CSS profile will ask for information about both parents. So both your custodial and your non-custodial parent will need to fill out a CSS profile for you. As I mentioned earlier, this requirement to complete all these annually is for domestic students. International students who are receiving financial aid only have to apply their first year, and then that will carry forward in future years. The deadline for returning students to apply is going to be May 15th each year, and more information about the requirements and the deadlines can also be found on our website. So the required information that goes into your financial aid applications, the first is going to be the number of people in your family and also the number of students who will be in college for that upcoming academic year. We're also going to be looking at income. I already kind of mentioned we're looking at income from 2 years prior, and that's going to be using your federal tax returns and your W-2s, business returns if you have those, and then also any untaxed income that you might have as well. When you're completing your FAFSA, that information is likely going to be directly imported from the IRS onto your FAFSA application using the FAFSA's direct data exchange. However, when you're completing the CSS profile, there's no direct exchange with the IRS there, so you will need to have those tax returns available in front of you to help you answer those questions. As part of your financial aid applications, we're also looking at assets as of the day that you complete the financial aid application. That's going to be things like checking and savings account balances, investment net worth, your home value and debt, other real estate value and debt, and also any business value and debt that you might have. So those are going to be the information covered in your applications. And then different types of financial aid that you might be eligible to receive. The first type we're going to talk about are going to be grants and scholarships. So grants and scholarships, sometimes called gift aid, this is the free money that you don't have to pay back, and it can come from a variety of sources. One source is going to be institutional grants, and that means any grant that comes from the University of Richmond. These can be merit-based or need-based. So merit-based aid is going to be based on maybe your academic achievements. They can be like aid that maybe from athletics or something related to activities that you've done, your grades, your test scores, that kind of thing. Need-based institutional aid is going to be primarily what our office is processing, and that's going to be based on your financial aid application. So based on that number in family, number in college, income, and asset information that we talked about earlier. Just kind of a fun statistic, $108 million is how much grants and scholarships the University of Richmond provided in the 25-26 school year as part of our institutional aid. Grants and scholarships can also come from the government, so that can be the federal or the state government. And some examples of those grants include the Pell Grant, which is a federal need-based grant, and the Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant, which comes from the state and is for Virginia residents who are attending private colleges in Virginia. Scholarships can also come from outside sources, so things like businesses, civic groups, churches, sometimes your employer or your parents' employer. And so we do encourage students to look for outside scholarships. Your high school likely has like a list or connections to different local organizations who might be offering scholarships for your freshman year. Moving on to federal student loans. So there are two main types of federal student loans, the subsidized and the unsubsidized loan. And you may have one or both of these in your financial aid package. The main difference is that for the direct subsidized loan, the student is not responsible for the interest that accrues while they're enrolled at least half time in school. The unsubsidized loan, the student is responsible for interest that accrues from the time that they take out that loan. So from the time that they start school and that loan disperses to their account. The subsidized loan is based on need, and so based on the information in your FAFSA, you may or may not qualify for subsidized. You may qualify, if you don't qualify for subsidized, you would still be eligible for the unsubsidized version. The interest rate for these loans changes every July 1st. So the 6.52% interest rate there on the slide is for any loans that are made between July 1st of 2026 and June 30th of 2027. And that is a fixed interest rate that will stay the same for the life of that loan. But each year that you borrow loans, your loan for that particular year will have its own interest rate. There's also a fee associated with all federal loans. The percentage for the subsidized and unsubsidized loans is going to be 1.057%, and this is taken out of the loan amount before the loan funds are applied to your account. This is a federal fee that the government retains from the amount that you borrow. There are annual maximums to what you can borrow as an undergrad dependent student, depending on what year you are in college. So as a freshman, you can borrow up to $5,500, and of that $5,500, up to $3,500 can be subsidized. As a sophomore, those amounts increase to $6,500 overall, up to $4,500 of that can be subsidized. And then as a junior and senior, the annual maximum is going to be $7,500 and up to $5,500 of that amount can be subsidized. If you're a first-time student loan borrower, there are two requirements that you have to complete before you're able to receive your student loan. The first is going to be entrance counseling, which is an online module that goes through the terms of the loan, the repayment plans, everything that you need to know about federal student loans. The second requirement is the Master Promissory Note, or MPN, and this is the agreement to borrow the money and to pay it back that you sign with the federal government. So both of those requirements can be found on studentaid.gov, which is going to be the same website where you did your FAFSA, and you can access lots of information about federal student loans. There are additional loan options available. The first we'll talk about is the Federal Parent Plus loan. This is another federal loan, but this is a loan that parents can borrow to help pay expenses for their dependent undergraduate student. This is a loan application that requires a credit check, so you do have to go out on studentaid.gov, complete the new application for the Parent Plus loan, and if you do have adverse credit history, you may be denied the loan. So it does require a credit check. There is an annual limit of $20,000 per year for each student, and then an aggregate limit of $65,000 per student. If you did the quick math there, $20,000 for 4 years would come out to $80,000, which would be above the aggregate limit. So something to be aware of if you do plan on using Parent Plus loans is that you cannot borrow the $20,000 annual maximum every year. You will hit that $65,000 limit if you try to do that each year. So something to think about and plan ahead for if you do want to borrow the full 65,000, if you want to maybe break that up equally over the 4 years, or if you have alternative plans you want to make for the last year, just something to think about from a 4-year perspective. I've also included the interest rate and the fees for the Parent Plus loans on the slide as well. So the interest rate for the upcoming year is going to be 9.07%, and the fee is going to be 4.228%. There are also private loan options that students or parents can borrow. These are also going to be credit-based and will vary a lot between different lenders. So if you are looking into private loans, I would recommend comparing the interest rates that you qualify for from different lenders, looking at the different repayment options and plans that they offer, and then just making sure you're comparing all the terms of your loans before you make a final decision. Often, a private loan will also require a co-signer for undergrad students, so that's something to consider as well. Some other resources and links that are here on the right side of the screen. For federal loans, there's a loan simulator tool on studentaid.gov where you can see, how much interest is going to accrue on the loans you have, kind of estimate and plan future borrowing, and also compare repayment plans on that tool. Our website, the financialaid.richmond.edu website, also has a loan fee calculator. So that can help you determine maybe how much plus loan you need to borrow to offset the fee and still cover the expenses that you want it to cover. And if you're thinking about private loans, we also have a historical lender list on Elm Select. So if you go to elmselect.com, look up University of Richmond, you can see the lenders that students have used over the past 3 academic years. Students and parent borrowers are able to borrow from any lender of their choosing. We do not have any preferences or make any suggestions for particular lenders, but this can be a starting place to help you see lenders that students have used in the past. Federal work study is another type of need-based financial aid. If federal work study is included in your financial aid package, that just means that you can earn those funds through working an on-campus job. You'll still be paid in a biweekly paycheck directly, so those funds are not available at the start of the semester to pay your bill or anything like that, but you will have the option of earning them through working on campus. If you do not qualify for federal work study, so if it wasn't in your financial aid package, you can still work on campus. You just get paid through a different fund, basically. That's called our University Work Program. And so there are still lots of on-campus job opportunities, even if you don't have work study. There are a lot of benefits to student employment, so improved time management skills, building your network of not only students on campus, but also staff and faculty that you'll get to know. You can also develop different hard and soft skills. There are student employees over in all kinds of departments on campus, in the libraries, in the academic departments. In our office, we have some excellent student workers. And then on-campus work typically is more flexible and accommodating of your student schedule. So they understand that you have, exams at the end of the semester and things like that, and will work with you usually a little more than an off-campus job might. All right, so now we're going to go into a little bit more detail about how we determine the need-based aid that you're eligible for. It all kind of centers around this one equation here, which is the cost of attendance minus the expected family contribution equals your demonstrated need. So we'll break those different vocab words down here. So we have the cost of attendance, or your COA. That's going to be the estimated cost for 1 year at the University of Richmond. It's estimated because it's made up of both direct cost and indirect costs. Direct costs are going to be things like tuition, housing, and food that are billed by the university. And then indirect costs are going to be those other expenses that you may not pay to the university directly, but you may have come up throughout the year. So things like textbooks, other school supplies, personal expenses, and direct loan fees if you're borrowing federal loans. So all those components together make up your cost of attendance. And then from that, we subtract out the expected family contribution, which is the output of the CSS profile. So it's kind of like the index number that is measuring your family's financial situation. You may also hear the student aid index, which is the output of the FAFSA. So that's the index number that the FAFSA is using, the SAI or student aid index. That could also be in this equation as well. So cost of attendance minus the expected family contribution or the student aid index gives us your demonstrated need. And then we'll put together a financial aid package that meets 100% of that demonstrated need using first grants and scholarships, and then also self-help components. And that can include your federal loans. So like we talked about, that federal subsidized loan that's need-based. And then it can also include the federal work study that we just talked about as well. Now, if your family experiences a significant change in their financial circumstances, please let us know. We can sometimes make adjustments if families have had things like a job loss or significant paid out-of-pocket medical expenses. And we can sometimes look at more recent income to see if there's anything that we can do. As I mentioned before, when you fill out your financial aid applications and you provide your tax returns, we're looking at the income from 2 years prior. And so we do understand that sometimes things can change a lot between 2024 and the present day. And we always want to make sure that we are getting an accurate, complete current picture of the family's finances. So if anything does come up and you would like to talk to an advisor, definitely reach out to our office. So once your financial aid has been determined, you've got your financial aid package, how does that financial aid get applied to your bill? Most financial aid is going to be split equally between the semesters, between fall and spring, and that financial aid will disperse to your student account on the first day of classes. So that aid will be applied to whatever charges are on your account on that first day. If your financial aid exceeds the charges that are on your account, you'll be issued a refund, and that refund will come to you either by direct deposit or by a check in the mail. You can set up direct deposit in your Bannerweb account, and that would be our recommendation. The preferred method of receiving your refund is by that direct deposit. So you can go into your Bannerweb, set up your bank information, and that'll probably be the fastest and most secure way to get any potential refund. Summer aid. So financial aid is available if you're enrolled at Richmond during the summer. That aid would be in the form of direct loans, federal direct loans, and the Pell Grant if you qualify for the Pell Grant. You do have to be enrolled at least half-time to borrow any loans during the summer or during the academic year as well. And any loan amounts that you borrow during the summer will reduce your loan eligibility for the following fall and spring. So as I mentioned before, there are those annual limits to what you can borrow each year, and the summer does count towards that annual limit. So the summer and then the following fall and following spring, all combined, cannot exceed that annual limit for your federal loans. If you're interested in taking out loans during the summer or seeing if you qualify for a Pell Grant, you'll have to submit the FAFSA for the upcoming school year. And then there's a summer federal direct loan application that will become available on our website, usually in March prior to the summer starting. So the next few slides are going to go over kind of other resources and other places you can find more information. So studentaid.gov is a great resource for anything related to federal financial aid. So things like the Pell Grant, federal work study, federal student loans, and the Parent Plus loan. All that info is going to be on studentaid.gov. Your loan servicer is assigned to you once you take out federal student loans, and that's going to be the servicer is the one who manages the repayment of your loans. So if you have any questions about your loans going forward, that's a great contact person to have. The University of Richmond Student Accounts Office can assist with any questions about invoices, payments, or refunds. They also offer installment payment plans. And so if you want to sign up for one of those, you can check that out on their website there as well. Some other resources that are available on campus, the Career Opportunity Fund helps provide funding for career-related expenses. So things like buying a professional wardrobe, grad school application fees, travel for a conference or a interview. Those are things that you can maybe use the Career Opportunity Fund for. We also have the Office of Scholars and Fellowships. They help connect students with fellowships and help with the application process. So things like the Fulbright or something, usually for post-grad study and research and that kind of thing. We also have the Richmond Guarantee, which provides up to $5,300 of funding for a summer research or internship experience that is unpaid or underpaid to kind of help with those costs as well. Okay. Some other things to think about when you're thinking about a budget for the year, or things to plan for that might come up during your year here at Richmond. Thinking about expenses related to travel. So whether you are traveling home for breaks or if you need housing during breaks, thinking about those expenses ahead of time. Also, clothing for weather changes. We have all four seasons in Richmond, and I think we kind of sometimes have the extremes of all four as well. So it does get quite hot here in the summer, but also get snow and some icy conditions sometimes in the winter. So being prepared with things like winter coats, snow boots, that kind of thing can be helpful. Budgeting for study abroad. So study abroad, you can use financial aid during study abroad the same way that you would if you were here on campus at Richmond. But there are sometimes expenses related to study abroad that are paid for prior to when you have access to your financial aid when the classes start. So things that you may need to budget or prepare for ahead of time are like buying a flight for your program or paying any visa fees ahead of time as well. Laptop repairs, laptops can be a pricey school supply, and so making sure you're budgeting for that as well. And then club dues, different activities on campus, that kind of thing. And then also starting a savings for emergencies and having an emergency fund. Some money saving resources on campus. We have what's called the Spider Exchange. It's like an on-campus thrift store, but it's completely free. And so you can find clothes there, you can find school supplies, dorm decor, all kinds of things available for free. We also have shuttles and the Richmond bus system that are available for free as well. Those can connect you to grocery stores, entertainment, activities in the city, lots of shopping centers, all kinds of things are on the bus routes. There are also student discounts to look out for. Things like streaming services often have student discounts, sometimes restaurants. And then also renting textbooks or buying used textbooks can help you save money on your books and school supply expenses. And then also thrifting. I think Richmond has a lot of really cool thrift shops. You can find good deals on items that you can save a little money on by getting them secondhand. We also have a financial literacy platform called iGrad. So richmond.igrad.com is where you can go to sign up for a free account. iGrad has courses, videos, articles on so many different topics, things like budgeting, investing, understanding credit and your credit score, managing debt, buying a home. There's like so many content areas on there to explore. And it's also very personalized, so you can actually put in your own budget. You can like put in a lot of your own information, and they have like quizzes and things like that to help you get the most out of the platform. So definitely recommend everyone create an iGrad account and check that out. It can be a very helpful tool. All right, some upcoming events. We have an orientation open house on August 21st from 4 to 5:30. So you can come by the financial aid office, meet your financial aid advisor. We'll have some snacks available. If you have any questions, we can meet and sit down and talk that through with you too. So definitely come on by and while you're here for orientation. And then check out our Instagram page. If you have Instagram, give us a follow there. And also Spider Bites, which is like the daily newsletter that the university emails out. We'll have all of our events posted on Instagram and we'll send out Spider Bites to advertise them as well. And then this is our contact information. We're located on the second floor of the Quealy Center. So that's if you've come for an admission tour before, it's the same building as the admission office. And we have our email there, finaid@richmond.edu, and also our website, financialaid.richmond.edu, as well as our Instagram, UR_financial_aid. And that QR code will take you there as well. So definitely reach out if you have any questions about anything. We hope to see you at the orientation open house as well. But I believe now it's time for any questions that we have in the chat. All right, let me see. There it is. Okay. So, okay, awesome. So Emily has answered a couple, but I will go over those as well. So we have, does the university offer the federal SEOG grant to eligible students? That is a great question. So here's Emily's response. FSEOG is federal gift assistance that does not need to be repaid, and it is awarded to domestic students with the highest level of demonstrated need. If it's awarded, it will be factored into the rest of your overall need-based aid package. So it does not go on top of the financial aid that you already have. So that's because your total financial aid cannot exceed your demonstrated need. So if you do have federal FSEOG added into your package, it will likely just kind of be swapped out with other grant that you already have included. Great. And then we have a question as well about aid that's available for international students. So yes, international students may receive consideration for merit-based scholarships, and there is some limited need-based aid for international students. But please note that the Office of Admission is need aware, and so that when they're reviewing applications, they are doing so, and it's a need aware process. So they are considering your financial aid application as well. But there's a lot more details about that on the international page of our financial aid website. Awesome. Are there any other questions? Let's see. Yeah, so we have a question. What is the merit deadline for returning students? So returning students, the majority of the merit aid at the University of Richmond is given out in the initial admission process. So for returning students, you are not able to apply for like the presidential or the Richmond Scholars, those big merit scholarship opportunities. But there are some merit aid options depending on what department you're majoring in. So once a student has declared a major, I would definitely recommend that they connect with the department that that major is in and see what kind of scholarship opportunities they might have. The application process, the selection process will vary depending on the department, but I would say that that's something to look into starting in your freshman or sophomore year once you've kind of decided what major you might be doing. Great question, though. Anything else out there? Any other questions at this time? All right. Well, you're always welcome to give us a call or an email if things do come up. And we hope to see you at the orientation open house as well in August. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Julia. And just to wrap things up, finally, oh, actually, let's look, and we got one more question. But no, we do not. It is just a thank you. Thank you, Amy. For those of you who may have joined us late, or if you know anyone who may have missed this webinar, we do upload all of our recorded webinars to our YouTube, just New Spiders at richmond.edu. So you can look up New Spiders on YouTube, and you'll be able to find all of our webinars, not only from this season, but past seasons as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to welcoming you in August. Thank you. Have a great rest of your time.